All right, we're back. We're here. Another episode of Adventures in Business. Mandy and Amani. Mandy, how has the weekend going, and any updates on the renovation status with the new contractors?
I knew you were going to ask. You know, it's so funny, Amani. I actually got a couple direct messages this morning saying, I know you're probably going to talk about it on the show, but what's the update with the renovation? I like how our audience is invested in this situation as I am. First, I would talk the weekend.
Yes.
I had a gal pal turn 50. Which all my gal pals are turning 50 this year. That's what we do this year, all of our 1975ers. And her theme was disco. She's born in 1975. So it was disco / Paris. So in Champagne, something like that. Anyways. So her favorite color is green. So I wore a shiny green jumpsuit just for her, assuming other people would be in like disco gear. Everybody was in a ball gown, Amani. I was the only casual girl, and then the boys were dressed in disco. So I was, I guess, dressed as one of the boys, which is not unusual. And then the women looked beautiful. Like my girlfriend had a beautiful dress on. Everybody came with their A game, but it was fun. We made people pyramids and we lifted her up, and we went dancing, and I got heartburn, but it was great. It was super fun. It was very 50th birthday. It was very, very fun. We had a great weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about the heartburn. Yes.
That's fine. It happens. I had Tums on hand. I was prepared. Yeah.
Okay.
But the renovation. Okay. So, we fired our first general contractor, and then we went through this exhaustive vetting process. We found 3 that we really like. And so last week, we analyzed, we looked at references, we went to houses, we looked at the finished product. Sadly, the finished product on 2 of the houses were no good. So we eliminated one of the 3 this morning, and we got an estimate from the other one. We're going to go look at one of his projects tomorrow, and we're waiting on the final estimate from another one. So we have 3 really, really good. It was sad to tell the person today we weren't going to work with them because I really like them. But there were some tile and grout and stuff issues. Yeah. And my husband, you met Scoot. He is very detailed. So he saw things that I wouldn't have even seen, but we actually both saw some not great things. So if I saw it, it was pretty bad because I don't, that's not my thing. So anyways, I don't know when we'll start. We're still paying for this rental that I'm podcasting in right now. It's basically a podcast studio. We're still living in our other house. Our other house is boxes everywhere. We're just rolling with the punches at this point. Yeah.
All right. Hang in there.
Yeah.
It will get done. Yes.
It will get done. What about you, Amani? I want to hear about your event. You had a book event in Atlanta this weekend.
I did. So I traveled to Atlanta for two things. I went to speak to the National Speakers Association Georgia chapter on unlocking creativity, and that was really good. They had an amazing studio there. Shout out to Rich Hart Studios. It's so funny. They gave me like a good hour and a half to speak. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'll get through all my stuff. Nope, I couldn't get through everything because there were like a lot of questions.
Oh,
And
that's
so, and
good.
it was really good. It was really good. And once again, the point of the presentation where there are the most questions is when I went through like my framework and the reinvention portion. To reinvention, unlock your
Mm,
creativity, you have to reinvent yourself. And I talk about how writing a book can allow you to reinvent yourself. And sure enough, there were so many questions about writing a book, the process. Like it's very eye opening. So
mhm.
I couldn't get to like embracing failure, staying curious. I missed like two or three of them, but it's okay. It was good. Lots of good feedback. It was an amazing studio, so I can't wait to get the footage. So that was it. Then after that, by the time I finished that, I had lunch. I had to race down to downtown Atlanta to this vinyl record store called Crates. I did a
Mm.
book event there. I had someone who I worked with almost 30 years ago come by. I had
Aw.
yeah, it was great. It was crazy. Someone I went to junior high and high school with came by,
Whoa, that's cool. Did
and
they bring any
and then
pictures? Did they bring any pictures of when you used to call girls and dedicate songs to them and hang out?
no
Oh.
baby pictures, none of that, none of that.
That, by the way, if you have not read Amani's book, that is one of the most endearing parts of your book is when you talk about how you used to call girls
Yes,
you had a crush on
yes, yes.
and play
Put
songs
it
for them.
out there. Yes,
It's
yes.
one of the
So
sweetest
that
parts of the whole book.
thank you. Thank you. I love it. And then one of my current new music business students stopped by, and people who I had not met. They had been moderating for me on Twitch when I was doing a lot of Twitch, but it was from afar, and I had not met them yet in like 5 years. So I finally met like four of them,
Aw.
four people. So that was really cool too. And then I talked to the record store owner at the end. Then I went back and I flew back yesterday. So quick trip, and it
Yeah.
was really good. Very, very good.
Good. Did you eat any good food in Atlanta?
Uh,
Any fried green
I mean,
tomatoes or any Atlanta's
I
food
had
seems so
I had
good.
fried chicken and waffles for lunch one day. That was good.
Oh,
Yes,
that's so
that
good.
was good.
Nummy,
Yes,
nummy. Nom, nom,
yes,
nom.
yummy, yummy. Now
Mhm.
for today, our
Yes.
guest, Tracy Peterson. She's part of the Brand Builders Group family that I've acquired in the last year and a half. And so super excited to talk to her because she's got a lot of experience, some great stories. We have a whole long list of questions for her. So without further ado, let me get my applause. We're going to bring Tracy. Oh, hold on. We're going to bring Tracy Peterson to the show here. So there we go. Tracy's here. Round of applause. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
happy to
Yeah.
be here.
Hey,
Yes. We're happy to
Tracy.
have you. Hello. Let's
Hi.
start off by if we give you 30 seconds to tell all of us who is Tracy Peterson, how would you answer that question?
Mm, that is such a good question because I feel like a lot of times women, we describe ourselves based off of what we do and not who we really are. So I will introduce myself to you all in who I feel like I am and who God created me to be. And I'll try to do it in a few words, single words. I am a I'm fiercely loyal. I am bold. I oftentimes am fearless. I am a mom of three kids. I am a leader. I am, oh my gosh, I'm an athlete. And man, I'm here to just make an impact.
All right. We like
Mm.
it. Now go back to the athlete part. Are you a former, is it a
Huh,
softball player? Softball? Or which sport?
no.
Which sport?
Believe it or not, Amani, I know my height. I'm like 5'5", but I played volleyball in college, Division One,
Okay.
I was gonna
scholarship
say
athlete.
D. We got a D1. We got a
You what?
D1 athlete here,
Yeah,
Monty.
Okay. What school? What school?
I went to Utah State for
Oh,
volleyball,
okay.
and
Yes.
I
Nice.
and I was and I was a libero. I don't know if you guys follow volleyball, but women's volleyball. But there's a special position, and it's called a libero. They wear a different colored jersey, and
Oh,
they're
that's nice.
mainly a defensive player, and they can go in and rotate in and out for every single player, but they just have to
Okay.
be on the back row. Anyway,
All right. Okay, good. So my next question before I turn over to Mandy, and we play like a little bit of tennis or pickleball back and forth with the questions. It's like a
love it.
conversation.
Love
If
it.
you were going to define perfectionism, what's your definition of
Mm,
perfectionism?
such a good question. So, perfectionism is the pursuit of an ideal, of a state of flawlessness through trying to avoid failure. And so I mean I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I know the word well because I lived that word for a very long time. When I was younger, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, you're so perfect. Oh, you're so perfect." And it almost kind of became this self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." But then deep down internally I was like, I'm kind of striving for that.
Mm.
But I sort of tricked myself into thinking that perfectionism was a good thing when really the way I tricked myself is because I would say I'm striving for excellence and I have a high standard. But the biggest differentiator between knowing whether or not you are a perfectionist or somebody with high standards is when you fail, how do you talk to yourself
Mm,
internally about that failure? Are you self berating? Are you negative? Are you, super self critical? Somebody who's a perfectionist is all of those things. People who have a high standard and who are striving for excellence know that failure is a process and a part of the journey towards success and towards achieving that high standard, but they view those little setbacks and those failures without the negativity that comes along with it. They're just like, well, okay, what did I learn from it? How can I grow? How can I get better through this quote failure? And that's the biggest differentiator between the two.
love it. Okay, you gave me some nuggets there. I'm going to follow up, but we got to turn to Mandy next. Go ahead, Mandy.
Well, I want to hang here because I think when we talk about recovering or reform, we've hit a rock bottom at some point, right? So, what
Mhm.
was your
Mhm.
perfectionism rock bottom?
Such a good question. You know, I remember specifically a day that happened. So I have three kids. My oldest daughter, Quinn, she's 12 now. And I have a 10-year-old son. His name's Tristan. And then I have a 7-year-old daughter named Felicity. And when my oldest daughter, Quinn, was just 9 years old, we were doing regular, after school activities. And mind you, I mean, my background, I've always been a working mom. Like I've worked as a nurse practitioner for over 15 years. I have, just a really successful international business, an online business. We're in over 13 countries. And then I'll tell you about the next one here in just a moment. But I've always been a high performer, right? We talked about Division 1 volleyball. We talked about always being a high achiever. And I remember specifically this one day, Mandy, after school, when I was standing at my counter and I was doing dishes. Now, I never do dishes. Let's be real. I delegate that task to my husband. But for whatever reason, on that day, I was doing dishes and my daughter Quinn was sitting at the counter. And as I was pulling a plate out of the dishwasher and a cup out of the dishwasher and a spoon out of the dishwasher, and then that one fork, that one fork that gets like stuck in the dishwasher in like the very back, like, how did that fork like fly out of there? So I grabbed
There's
this
always
fork.
one. There's always
There's
one.
always one
There
fork,
is.
right?
There is. Yes.
So I stand up holding this fork in my hand. And do you guys know those moments where it's sort of like time slows down?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Hmm.
where you'll never forget where you were, you'll never forget what was said, and you never will forget how you feel or felt in that moment. And my daughter Quinn says to me as I'm holding this fork in my hand, Mom, can we do woman lessons? And I was like, sure. Well, I'm sure we could do woman lessons. Like, what do you want to learn? Like, I'm a woman. I could probably teach you how to do that. And she said so thoughtfully, Mandy, in her sweet little squeaky 9-year-old voice, she goes, well, I want to learn how to put together an outfit. I want to learn how to do my makeup. And I want to learn how to cook. And I thought in that moment, that is the sweetest thing I have ever heard. And yes, sweetie, I can teach you all of those things. And then my high performing, perfectionist mom brain sort of started spiraling. And I said, for as sweet as that is also so sad. Because is that all that she thinks that it means to be a woman? Is what we
Mm.
look like? And I didn't have to get, but I did get introspective. And I said, is that all that I'm modeling for her? Is what
Mm.
we look like and what we do. And so I thought to myself, what are those things that I want? What do I want for my daughter? I want nothing more for my daughter than for her to grow up and be truly confident, to not look for her confidence in the validation of other people or from anything that the world can give her. I want her to have that confidence like internally and to find that through her relationship with God. And so I thought to myself, what are some of the lessons that I want to teach her as her mom? And so I came up with these 7 woman lessons. And the first 6 rattled off super, super quick. But the last one, Mandy, this is going to answer your question. This is a long answer to a quick question, like we talked about
Just
before.
like we talked about. Yeah.
Just like we talked about. Just like we talked about. The last one that I didn't want to add because I didn't want to face it. The lesson is lesson number 7. You are more than your body.
Mm.
Because I remember right around that age when she was 9 and she was asking me all these questions, I remember waking up one morning and Mandy, the first thing that I thought of when my eyes opened and I barely gained consciousness, I'm still kind of in that sleepy stupor. The first thing that I did was I lifted up my shirt to look at my stomach to gauge whether I had been good the day before
Ugh.
or bad the day before.
Yeah.
Because if I was a little fluffy, then I would know that I had been bad. And then I stood up and I walked over to my full length mirror in my bedroom and I did the same thing and turned to the side and did all that look. That first thought to the day that lied ahead of me. And without fail, the barrage of negativity came. Like, you're so lazy, you're so weak, you have no discipline. When in honesty, I would hyper restrict myself all the
Mm.
time, but then I would binge. And I knew in that moment, as the barrage of negative thoughts were flowing through my mind and I was just pummeling and pounding myself in the ground, I knew that what I thought was self discipline and that what I thought was my superpower and my high standard for myself was really not a superpower. It was just self bullying.
Oh, wow.
And you cannot self bully your way to success. You have to self love your way there.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I would never want my daughter to talk to herself the way that I was talking to myself in that moment. And I just knew I had to tackle the you are more than your body. Like, I had to master that. And so then, that started probably a 2 or 3 year journey of really discovering that I am more than my body, because I can't give to her what I don't have.
Yeah.
So I can't give her that lesson if I'm not living it. And so, I mean, it just was a huge turning point in my life. But that was one of the rock bottoms, like the
Mm-hmm.
whoa, Trace, you got to get a handle on this, because your mom chronically dieted and her mom chronically dieted, and I'm sure they talked
Mm.
negatively about themselves. And so I was like, if I'm not careful, I'm going to inadvertently project all of my insecurities onto my daughter. And those negative patterns will continue to repeat themselves through generations and generations. And I just had to decide in that day that I was willing to do the hard work and it was going to
Yeah.
stop with me.
Isn't it so powerful how kids hold a mirror up to you? Like, it's probably something that was on your mind. Like you said, there's been a legacy of it. My mom had an experience like that with me when I was little. I didn't know this till I was a lot older, but so it was the same thing. My mom said, we were in the kitchen and my mom said, we were playing an imitation game, imitate daddy, imitate brother, imitate sister. And then she was like, imitate mommy. And I guess I went to the kitchen sink and I grabbed a dish rag and I got on all fours and I just started cleaning the floor. And my
Yeah.
mom was like, I'm so much more than the lady that cleaned your floor. And that was I'm number 3 of 4. There's 4 kids, but like that was she started writing then and submitting articles for magazines and started volunteering for organization. Like, it's just that one little thing that you probably know yourself, but it takes the kids sometimes to hold their mirror up to that.
Totally.
I think those stories are powerful. I want to hang here for a second on women lessons, because
Yeah.
that is the name of your podcast, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So tell us about Woman Lessons. And I love how it was named after your daughter, right? The experience
Yeah.
you had with your daughter. So tell us about your podcast, Woman Lessons. And then I have another follow-up question. Then Amani, I promise I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so our podcast is for high performing women with daughters between the ages of anything, honestly. But we really try to focus on between the ages of 9 and 12. That's kind of where we're starting. But we do have another cohort of 13 to 15-year-olds, because this movement and the podcast is really growing with the audience. So it's specifically for the moms who want to be their best self, not just for themselves, but also for in helping them to raise the next generation of leaders. And we have to first learn to lead ourselves before we can really lead other people and lead other people well. And I think in motherhood, especially, being working mom, and we're balancing a lot of roles, for heaven's sake. And again, going back to the question of, like, tell us who Tracy Peterson is, and we go to, like, let me list off my accolades and everything that I've achieved, and that really doesn't tell you who I am as a person. And so we really, on Woman Lessons podcast, try to peel back some of the layers and focus on the individual, because you were a woman before you were a mom. You were a woman before, you worked in your job. You were a woman before you became a spouse. And I think sometimes those roles we stack and we pile those on top, and we sort of can lose ourselves and our true identity in the process. And
Mm.
so we invite different women on and men on that are experts in their field on any topic that we would want to know as a high performing woman, and that we want to master, and or that we need help maneuvering with our daughters in that next generation.
Ah, that's awesome. I've listened to a couple episodes over the weekend. It's pretty good. And they're quick. They're quick
Thank you.
episodes. They're pretty good.
They are.
Okay.
They're quick.
Yeah. What about this event that you just finished in Utah? Tell us
No.
about the Woman Lessons event.
Yes. Oh, so we've got the podcast, and then twice a year we do Woman Lessons live retreats. So these are mother-daughter retreats.
Ah.
And I was super, super adamant, like, when I began this, I did not want them to be virtual. I did not want them to be virtual. The vision that I have for this is not like a mother and daughter sitting on a computer on Zoom, looking at a screen, trying to, like, connect with somebody through the screen while we're trying to connect with ourselves. I just think, the day in which we live, we are so connected, but we've never been more disconnected.
True.
And we've never been more disconnected with each other, but also we've never been more disconnected with ourselves and who we really are. And so we do these Woman Lesson Live retreats, mother-daughter retreats, and they're 2 days. And we just wrapped one. We do one in June and we do one in November, the very first weekend of both months. And what did we do? We did a service project, and we partnered with an organization called Strengthen Her Utah. And we created these summer stacks for refugee single moms who have daughters between the ages of 9 and 12.
Awesome.
And yeah, it is awesome. So we packed over 50 plus of those summer sacks for them. And then we did a You Are More Than Your Body lesson, where the girls and the moms learned how to do flower arrangements, and there's a whole metaphor that we talk about with that. And then we did Zumba, like, we danced, we shook our booties. Like, it's not just like super deep spiritual, like, let's get in there and do the hard work. It's light and it's airy, because learning how to put together an outfit and learning how to do your makeup, like, that's fun too. Like, and that can be part of being a woman.
Yeah.
And then the next day we go on a hike. So we get out in nature. And then we have speakers come in. We had a child psychotherapist come in who just wrote a book and is now a parent coach. And she talked about tweens and technology and the effects of technology on middle childhood. And then we did 2 breakout sessions. One of those breakout sessions was on the difference between anxiety and intuition as a mom, which I think so good,
That's
right?
so good. Yeah.
Because they can mimic each other. And then I did a breakout session with the girls on friendships and how you don't have to be everybody's friend.
Oh, that's good.
Ooh, like controversial, right? It's like,
But also
we were
true and a hard lesson for women. I mean, a very hard lesson for
such
women.
such a hard lesson unless somebody tells them that it's okay. Like
Yeah,
you
give
don't have to
permission.
be, yeah, you don't have to be friends with everybody. I was told, maybe you guys were told, like, be friends with everybody. Everybody's your friend. And I know the intention behind that was well-meaning. Like there was a well-meaning intention behind that. But what I think they really meant to say was be kind to everyone. Even the people who are mean to you, be kind to them. Look for people who need kindness shown to them. But not everybody needs to be your friend.
Yeah.
And because kindness is the standard, but friendship has standards. So what are your friendship standards? Let's be real specific about friendship standards. And then you also first have to make sure that you're living up to those standards and you're being that type of friend that you want someone else to be to you. So we broke that down for the girls and they loved it. I was like, oh, I'm going to tell you something that maybe you've never heard before.
Oh, what a
And they
hook.
were like,
That's cool.
oh my gosh, that's so good.
Aw,
Yeah, and then we had some gals come out and talk about styling and fashion, and the girls
fun.
loved that. And then we had somebody talk about how to build a relationship with God, and it was awesome. It was so good. And just really connecting because, you know, girls this age sometimes are like, I don't hear anything. I don't feel anything. I don't feel it the way my parents do. Am I
Mm.
supposed to hear someone like a voice in my head? That's weird. And she talked about all the 5 different ways that you can feel and hear God's voice in your life, which I loved, and that He works with your uniqueness. And I really enjoyed that one. And
That's
then
beautiful.
yeah, and then what else? Oh, and then we always do the best. You guys, I need to invite you out to Utah, and you guys need to come and do the Love Tunnel. I mean, that sounds fun,
Oh,
right, Amani?
I would do
The
a
Love Tunnel.
I would do a
I
love
mean, yes,
tunnel.
yes. I'm kind of curious as to what that means, but I'm intrigued. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Well, the love tunnel really starts with, so this is woman lesson number 1, which is remember who you are.
Hmm.
Because, you know, I think back to the time, and maybe you guys think back to a time when you were the most happy, like you felt the most comfortable in your skin. And mine was in 1989. I was 7 years old. And Amani, you'll love this because I had my Walkman,
There you
like
go.
cassette
Yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah.
NKOTB was playing on that bad boy.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I rewound it with my pinky, you know,
Mhm,
the cassette tape, that whole thing.
mhm.
And I was like jamming out in my bedroom, and my friend Stephanie, my best friend from across the street, yelled through the screen door, Tracy, we're pulling out the banana yellow slip and slide. Do you wanna come over to my house? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be right there. So I slipped on my neon color block swimming suit.
Oh,
Mandy, you probably had one of
I
those.
did. I did. Mine was
And
yellow.
and
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yellow and
And
purple,
then
yeah.
yeah, and then I put on my pink jelly sandals, the ones that like gave you blisters, but you're like, these are
Mhm.
so cute, it's worth it. Our shoe theory has never changed as women. We're like, if they're cute, they're worth the blisters.
Mhm.
And I ran outside and ran across the street, threw my towel on Stephanie's worn wooden fence. Do you know when we used to have like wooden fences? Those were the best kind of
Splinters.
fences.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, splinters, the whole thing.
Mhm.
And like that, you know, disgusting hose water you used to drink that was like
Mhm.
metallic. And you're like, I
Mhm.
swear I'm giving myself like toxicity right now, but it was so
Something.
good. Yep. But we pulled out that yellow slip and slide and we ran and we jumped and we played. And like my waist long hair was just like soaking wet and strings of it were just flipping in my face. And to me, that was a moment when I had like pure unadulterated identity, where I knew exactly who I was, and never once did I think, "Oh, if I'm running on this slip and slide, are my thighs jiggling too much?
Mm,
Is this swimming suit showing my cellulite? What's my friend, Brady thinking of me because I'm doing that? No way. Like, I was so in the moment, and I just knew exactly who I was before the world taught me to hide
Mm,
who I really was.
mhm.
And so, I mean, that's really where this love tunnel starts. Is first of all, we need to remember who that little boy was, or who that little girl was, and what are those three characteristics that they had. And for me, that little Tracy showed up fearless. She showed up unapologetically, and she like went for life full out, zero hesitation.
mm,
And so we have the girls and the moms walk towards a full length mirror and look themselves in the eye and say who they are. Not who they are today, but who they really are and who God created them to be. And it's so cool. And that first step is you want to know, but then you need a community around you who also sees who you are and pours that belief in that person, of who you're meant to be. So then, have you guys ever done like a soccer tunnel? Did you guys ever
Yeah.
play soccer?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we do.
so the soccer tunnels where
Mhm.
like you go
Yeah.
like this, and you put your hands up, and then each girl and each mom individually, because we're individuals first, we each go through the tunnel, and every mom and girl on either side says, "You are smart. You are bright. You are such a good mom. You're an amazing leader. You're so kind. You have the best smile," whatever it is. So you just have all of these people pouring goodness and truth, about who you really are. So that is the love tunnel. And it's the
Ah,
best.
love
And we
that.
have everybody record it. Like they carry a little like recorder on their chest, not so they're looking and experiencing this through a screen, but we have them press record and then just hold it down on their tummies, so that on the days when it gets hard, and on the days when they forget who they are, or on the days when the world says you're not enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not capable enough, you're not smart enough, you're not thin enough, you're not whatever enough, that they can go back and they can play that, and they can remember who they are and remember the truth about who they are.
That's awesome. It's
Nice.
beautiful.
Yes,
It's
well
the
described.
best. It's the
Uh,
best.
Since you mentioned worrying about what Brady thinks of you when you were such a young person, why do we as people
Yeah.
worry so much about what people think of us?
Such a great question. And that's the thing. I didn't care what Brady thought of me
Mhm.
when I was 7. And I think more of an awareness comes about, um, at least for girls, I would say. Amani, you could probably speak more on the boy front, but um, for me, I think it comes in because I'm seeing it in my daughter right now, is right around puberty. And I think it's some of the hormones, but also that age range between 9 and 12 is defined as middle childhood. And Erickson, who was, a psychosocial development specialist, he theorized that we're always in conflict in each phase of our development. And the phase of conflict that we're in that stage of 9 to 12, it actually extends to 15, 9 to 15, is identity and confusion.
Mm.
So we're like, who am I? And in that middle childhood, right around the age of 9, you start to have an awareness that you are an individual outside of your family, that you start caring about your coaches, you start caring about your teachers, you start caring about friends. And it's sort of, how
Mhm.
do I individuate myself in this world that is just unlocked and opened to me? And so I think, we have to be really careful. And where does that start? I think all of us can go back and we can remember like at least one, for me it was many, punk kids who like said stuff to us. Do you
Mm.
guys have like, I remember for the longest time I was so insecure about my thumbs because some guy
What? Your
said,
thumbs?
my thumbs, because I have ski jump thumbs. Like my thumbs aren't flat. They like kind of
Oh
swoop
my
up.
gosh. Who would even look
And
at your
again,
thumbs? What a jerk.
right? And
Yes.
so again, and I'm like, okay, what does this go back to? Let's peel back some of those layers. That's being hypercritical of somebody else.
Mhm.
And this characteristic of being hypercritical of other people, the people who point the fingers the most at and pick out other people's flaws typically are the ones who are the most critical about themselves.
Truth.
And I didn't learn that until I was in my late 30s. And
Mhm.
Mm.
it was true. It was absolutely true. And so I think, man, whatever little girl said that to me, like her mom was hypercritical of her, right? Which means the mom was hypercritical of herself. And so
Mhm.
I feel like it's a generational self-perpetuating cycle until somebody just stops. We just stop the comparison. And so what we teach in woman lessons, going back to your original question, Amani, is like when do we start thinking about this stuff? And I think it comes back to when we start comparing ourselves. And I think we start comparing ourselves right around that puberty, because some kids start going through puberty before us and are like, oh my gosh, that girl is now tall and I am short, right? And that girl is developing hips faster than I am. And there's this comparison that starts. So we like to make the distinction that we want to live in observation and stay out of comparison. Because
Mhm.
observation is just, we make it factual.
Mhm.
That girl is tall. I'm not, I am short. That girl has hips. I don't. Because comparison is when we internalize something and make it mean something about ourselves. That girl is tall. I am short. I'm not as good at I'm not as good as her because I'm not
Mm.
tall. Or I'm not as good of an athlete as she is because I'm not tall. It's something I don't have, right? And so we love to just live in observation and stay out of the comparison. It's not like we want to bury our head in the sand and be like, that girl's not tall. And no, she's tall and you're short. Like that's okay. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the lessons that we teach is we really try to stay out of the comparison game. But we can't just teach the girls how to do it. We have to model it
Mhm.
as adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're talking about changing not just a generation, but we're changing the way that the world operates. And that's going to be a lifelong. It's going to be a lifelong pursuit. But I'm up for it. Our girls
Okay.
are worth it.
Yeah. So I have two follow-up
Aw.
questions based on what you shared. First of all, also shout out to Betsy Baker, who's tuning in on LinkedIn, and John Chen, who's tuning in on Facebook. So hello to you all. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
For
Hi, Betsy.
adults,
Hi, John.
how do you work with or advise adults who also suffer from the comparison trap?
Yeah, such a good question. I think it comes back to what we teach in woman lessons. So and these are men lessons too. I mean, they're not just for women, but the first step is to remember who you are and whose you are. So it's going back to that little boy or that little girl who was 7 and like sit there for a minute and like imagine them. Like imagine and think back to the time when you were that little boy or that little girl and write down those 3 characteristics that they had. Those are not gone. Those are inherent. And number 2, we want to make sure that we're getting grounded in gratitude. That
Mm.
there are always things to be grateful for. And the moment you start comparing yourself, it just brings this air of negativity and and also a lot of times some anxiety or even a little bit of depression. And what we teach is gratitude cannot exist at the same time in your brain with anxiety. They can't. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And so if you develop a daily, and I know it sounds You guys, I know it sounds so frou-frou, like do a daily gratitude practice, but it really works. Like it really, really will change your life. And I'm not talking about writing an epistle every morning of all the things you're grateful for. Like my morning gratitude takes me 3 minutes to do because I know that that is small enough to be sustainable for me. Anything longer than that is just bonus and extra, but anything that's required of me, it's going to be hard for me to do long term because I'm busy. I've got all these jobs and all these kids and all these, projects that I'm working on. So I have to keep it short and I have to keep it sweet. But Amani, to really answer your question, I think if as an adult, if you're finding yourself comparing yourself, those first 3 lessons, remember who you are and whose you are. Gratitude grounds. It's going to ground you in the present. And then number 3, you've got to own your divine gifts because every human has at least one. And oftentimes, here's the tricky part. Oftentimes, your divine gift is the thing that maybe you were made fun of, or maybe somebody weaponized and used against you. For me, when I was about 14 or 15 years old, I had somebody that I loved so much. And I was having a hard time with girls in junior high. Believe it or not, I know it's a surprise. I know. But I came home because I had overheard them talking about me, some of my very best friends.
Oh, it's
And
heartbreaking.
it's heartbreaking, right? It just hurts your
Heartbreaking.
heart.
Yes.
And it just happens far too often. And again, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but I don't buy into the mean girl bullcrap. I think we perpetuate that. I think the media does. I think we sensationalize it, and I just think that it can be no more. Like I don't subscribe to it. I don't I just don't buy into it because it really can damage a lot of girls and society as a whole. My heavens. So I heard these girls, say some not nice things about me, and I went home and I said, why are these girls having a hard time with me? And I was like, be honest with me. And I remember in that moment, this person that I love said to me, well, we've been talking, like, your family's been talking, and you're being really bossy. Like, you're being too bossy, you're being too confident, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. That's why they're having a hard time with you.
Who
And
cares? I'm sorry. I'm
I
like,
know,
forget about those
it's okay.
people. God, forget about
Right?
them. Yes.
Right? And that's the thing. And I don't hold any ill will towards this person that said that, because again, I think we all do the best we can with the resources that we have at the time.
Right.
And I think that person wasn't purposefully trying to hurt. She was trying to help, right? By being honest with me.
Yeah.
But what I took away from that was it's my job to make everyone around me feel comfortable. And me shining my divine gifts and me being who I'm supposed to be is too much for people. So I need to start toning it down. And so I did. I still achieved. I still got awards and different things, but I would always downplay, right? Because I didn't want to make people around me feel uncomfortable. And honestly, it makes me so sad. That's why I want to help parents and I want to help moms and I want to help these girls to avoid, this 20 to 25 years of feeling like I wasn't enough and feeling like who I was, like the thing that was wrong with me is actually what is right with me.
Yes.
Yeah, well said.
And that, like, when you can use that thing that maybe you were put down for, or that makes you different, or that makes you unique, that is the thing that makes you memorable. That's the thing that's going to make you great. So it's learning to own your divine gift and accept all of it. And literally, it used to trigger me when people would be like, "Oh, like you're such a boss or you're bossy." I'd be triggered because it would bring up that word that was used, when I was younger. And I'm like, "Oh, no, no, I'm not bossy. I'm just really clear on what I want." But I just decided to reframe it and flip it on its head. And I'm not bossy. I'm just a master delegator and I know how to get stuff done.
Hmm.
And that's why I've been able to be as successful as I have in all of my businesses. And maybe some of you out there have been told, you're too emotional. Actually, you're just incredibly empathetic and that connects you to people, right? Or maybe you're too high maintenance. No, you just know exactly what you want and
Mm-hmm.
you see that you're valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's all in reframing some of those things that, the world has said is wrong with you, when in reality they're actually what's right with you. So that's where I
Okay.
would start, is those first 3 lessons.
All
Amani.
right. All right. Good answer. We've come to the time of the
Amani, what's
show.
your oh, I was gonna say, Amani, what's your gift?
Oh, we'll come back to
Mm.
that. I'm thinking on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Well, is that the question you have for me? Because we have the come to the time of the
maybe is this
show.
the time?
Yes, where you could ask us
Time is
Yes.
any question you
now.
want to. So no question is off limits. So who do you want to ask the question to first, and what is said question?
Oh, I might just ask you both the same question.
Okay.
Amani,
Fine.
do you know what your divine gift is?
I think hold on, I'll switch it. I think my divine gift, I want to say, is the ability to teach across generations. Like I could teach someone who's
Mm.
70 years old and someone who's 17 years old. And that's not very easy. But to be able to reach them, I think that's it right there.
Were you ever teased for that? Or did you ever think that was wrong with you?
No, what I was teased for is what Manny was talking about at the beginning of the show in terms of playing the slow jams for the ladies. But I'll still do it. I'll still do
I love it. I love
That's,
it.
isn't that so sweet? I think
It's
it's so
the
sweet.
sweetest. I mean,
Yeah,
the boy who would hand me like the mixed tape or like the burned
there you
CD
go.
that he
Yes.
made for me, I was like, oh, that is thoughtful and that is
Yes.
sweet.
It's
Don't
so
ever change.
thoughtful. Amani, is
So
that a reach or a teach? Like, as you say, you teach across generations, but I also think you reach
True.
people as well. So I don't know. I might challenge that gift and think your gift is your reach
Yes, I'm able
because
to
you're
reach.
able
mm,
to teach because of your reach. You
Yes.
know?
Okay. We can
mm,
reframe it. I take that feedback. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. What about,
yeah,
so
that's a
you,
good one.
you can ask
Mandy,
Manny
what's
the same
yours?
question? Go ahead, Manny.
Yeah, that's your question, Mandy. What's your
I
divine gift?
humor. I think I
Hmm.
can bring humor to any situation. Levity, humor. I'm constantly thinking of an SNL like in any situation, I'm rewriting it so it's funny and it brings light and laughter and I think humor.
Mm,
It's funny you asked this though because I was just with a group of women virtually a couple weeks ago and we were talking about what our superpower is, and I said something completely different as my superpower. So you say your superpower, and then everybody sort of challenges yours, says what they think your superpower is. And everybody said humor. And I know that to be true about myself, but I think because it's so second nature, and my assumption is that everybody can bring humor to a situation. They reminded
mm,
me, they reminded me like that's not normal. Like that is actually it's good, but not everybody can or sees the humor in or sees the funny part in it. I always see
yeah.
the funny part and I try and bring it back. Not like and not to take it not seriously. Like I don't want to invalidate a situation, but I do try and bring levity.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah.
and even if and you see the humor through your lens, right? So even
Yeah.
if other people can also find humor, like your uniqueness is that you see it through your lens and your experiences and your unique little sense of humor. So
Yeah.
I love that. And what a gift. What a
Well,
gift.
Okay.
And I do
and
I do have I do have a divine gift guide that we can make sure is in the show
Okay.
notes too. So any of your
ooh.
listeners can go through
Yeah.
the divine gift guide and
Thank
find
you.
out what one of
Yeah.
their divine gifts is.
Yeah, drop that and yes,
Yeah.
send that to us and we'll drop
I
that in the
will.
show notes for sure.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
So
awesome.
we have time for me to ask one more question and Mandy to ask one more question. So I'll go first, Mandy. Is that okay?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So we want to go back to Logan, Utah, and you're walking across the stage at graduation, and you want to give
Yeah.
young Tracy, the Tracy that's walking across the stage, advice, what advice would you give your younger self?
Mm. I would say that I would say accept yourself for all that you are, all the good and all the things that have been labeled not so good, the bad things, and be in relentless pursuit of who you're meant to be. So start with that self acceptance piece because I think I just always wanted to change these parts of me. But
Mhm.
I think going back to what we talked about, you can't force your way and self bully your way into success. You have to love your way there. And so learning to love yourself for all of your strengths and all of your weaknesses, I think opens up this new level of self assurance. And once you have that self assurance and that self trust, that is confidence, is self trust. And then you can, I mean, be in relentless pursuit of who you're meant to be. And you can't do that if you're constantly questioning or thinking something's wrong with you or doubting yourself or questioning or letting other people's opinions get in your head. You have to just accept all of who you are, warts and all, and they all make you who you are.
Well said. Mandy, over to you to close us out.
Well, you've just spent a little over an hour with
Mhm.
us and
Yes.
just dropping mad nuggets of knowledge just the whole time. I can't wait to re-listen to this. What can we do to support you and lift you up?
Mm. Man, I think to lift me up, I think we lift others. I think we need to lift the next generation. And and we need to let other high performing women and moms know and have the support, right? Because we're doing the best we can with the resources that we have. So we just need to increase the resources that people have access to, which is one of the reasons why I have a Momfidence meetup that's starting to happen, and it will be virtual. I've been really specific about keeping these mother-daughter events in person, but this is the right time to bring it virtual and to give high performing women and mothers access to this type of information and expertise so that they can confidently raise that next generation of leaders. And so I'll make sure that you guys have that in the show notes. It's going to be monthly, and we're starting on June 28th. So we're starting this month, June 28th at noon Mountain Time. And then we also, the very following Saturday on July 5th, same time at noon, we are doing a Woman Lessons Legacy Leadership for Girls. So we're teaching these girls how to lead themselves so they can lead better in their families and lead better in communities. So that's going to be starting up as well. And everybody can go
Awesome.
to tracypeterson.com, and then I'll make sure that we have the information in the show notes as well. And that would be amazing. I would love that so much. Thank you for
Yes.
asking.
Yes.
All right.
Tracy with an I, Peterson with an
Yes.
ETE. That's
Yes.
awesome.
It's on the ticker.
Oh,
So
Mm-hmm.
first, just thank you for sharing so much wisdom and knowledge and thoughts today. It's been amazing. So appreciate that. We'll make sure to continue to support you. We're going to give you a round of applause and put you back in the green room. So once again, a round of applause for Tracy Peterson right here.
you guys are amazing. Thanks for having
Yes.
me.
Thanks for
Yes.
being here. It's nice to meet
Yes.
you.
All right, we'll put you back in the green room
So
real quick. Yes. Mandy, another great show is in the books. Thanks again to Tracy for appearing with us today. Who do we have to look forward to next week?
Princess Sarah. We have
Princess Sarah Culberson. Okay.
Princess Sarah Culberson. I've never
Yeah.
met, and you've met.
Yeah.
And speaking of humor, you said she brings the fun, I think
Yeah,
is
she'll
what
be
you said.
funny. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So another
Yeah.
great episode. So that's good. Make sure if you're watching to subscribe, rate, and review on the platform you're watching on. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a review. And with that, we'll see you next week, 4 p.m. on the East, 1 p.m. on the West, 2 p.m. in Mountain Time. Shout out to Tracy in Mountain Time. And just thanks for watching, and we will see you all next week.
See you next week. Bye.